Sean Pickett here with Sales Integrity. Thank you for stopping by the Sales Integrity Podcast. Today we continue our discussion on the topic of prospecting on purpose. So without further ado, let's get today's episode rocking and rolling. Welcome back to the Sales Integrity Podcast. Previously, we've been focusing on our Prospecting on Purpose series. We're going to continue on with that. We have been talking about prospecting by the numbers, and we start off with usually 3 stats, maybe a little bit more, to focus in on a niche topic. And then I provide 3 tips on what to do about it, how to make use of the data and the research that I'm providing for you. Today, we're going to continue on with that theme. However, we're going to start shifting our attention and focus to the major theme of creating content. And here's why. Previously, I talked about, I shared some stats with you. One of them from DemandGen Report, where they state 95% of buyers chose a solution provider that provided them with ample content to help navigate through each stage of the buying process. And then I also shared some research from Forrester where they found that 82% of buyers viewed at least 5 pieces of content from the winning vendor. One of the previous podcasts, I talked about the unfair advantage of being first, and I shared some more research from Forrester where they found that the first viable vendor to reach a decision maker and set the buying vision has an average close ratio of 74%. So again, the first viable vendor to reach the decision maker and set the buying vision has an average close ratio of 74%. And again, that was by Forrester. So when we look at that bit of research, and we look at what I call the 4 cornerstones of prospecting, which includes social selling, cold calling, strategic networking, and referral selling. We've been focusing on these topics quite a bit throughout this series. All of it kind of points to a smarter, more well-informed buyer, but it also, on the flip side of that, sales professionals need to be smarter. They need to be more informed. And more importantly, you can set the narrative as the sales professional, as a thought leader, as a go-to specialist by creating the content. I talked previously on one of the podcasts about the ascending up the credibility ladder. I suggest you go back and listen to it, or listen to it if you haven't, where I talked about the 4 different levels of being a thought leader and a go-to specialist and someone who has credibility, someone who's established credibility. Subject matter expert was the first step on the ladder there. Thought leader was the next step, and then go-to specialist was the 3rd step, and then the 4th one was authority figure. As a sales professional, you don't even need to get to authority figure, but you should become a go-to specialist, and that means you're creating your own content. And there's really 2 types of sales professionals out there. Those that expect their company and the marketing department specifically to create that content that they can leverage, and those that say, you know what, I'm going to take control of my own destiny and not wait for that. If they provide it, great, that's gravy. I'm going to leverage it within the process. And by all means, if you have a great, wonderful marketing department that's pumping out a lot of content for you that's valuable, then leverage that so you don't have to create it on your own. But make no mistake about it, when you're the author of content, and you're bringing that content forth into the marketplace, and your target market prospects, your ideal clients, profile contacts are finding you that way, they're going to look at you through a different lens than if you're just simply sharing information that was provided by a third-party resource. It's still valuable to provide information, especially if it's valuable and spot on, timely and relevant, information. It's still valuable to do that. However, if you can create some of your own, and a lot of the sales professionals we work with don't have the marketing departments pumping out a lot of content. If they're in emerging growth companies, if they're in SMB up to mid-market companies, and maybe they're not getting that content out there quick enough, but you're the ones who are working with your customers, and you understand what these success stories are and kind of the what's going on within these projects and how you're adding value and helping your clients achieve their goals. You have that information. Don't just sit on it. Let's compile that into some information. So the purpose of shifting our focus and attention to the new theme of creating content, I'm going to focus on one specific piece of content that you can create with each podcast moving forward for the unforeseeable future. Okay, and the first one we're going to focus on today is the case study. Nothing is better than a success story or a case study of how you worked with a peer of theirs to help them achieve a goal or overcome a challenge or address a problem or an issue, than providing a case study, right? That's most impressive to the prospects that you're going to reach out to. They've never heard of you before. They don't know who you are. What a wonderful way to connect with you. And it doesn't matter whether you're leveraging social selling and they just find that content out there in the social networks on those platforms, or if you're actually leveraging it in a purpose-driven approach, by reaching out and providing that as what I refer to as a tangible value asset that you're going to lead in with, or even a follow-up piece of information that after an initial discussion to further demonstrate your knowledge and that you guys understand how to solve problems for executives like them in their industry at companies like theirs, right? So today we're going to focus on the case study, creating content and really the case study. And I'm going to provide 3 quick tips on how you can create your own case study, because this tends to be nebulous. A lot of people know they should be using these success stories in their messaging and sharing wins and relevant examples and case studies with their clients, but not everyone has that, and they're waiting on it maybe from their marketing department for their company, or it just doesn't exist and they don't know how to create it. So I thought I'd make it easy today to provide you a specific example or 3 quick tips on how to create your own case study, especially if you obviously know the story. Now, I'm assuming at this point, I'm going to pick up where you've got the information on the case study information. You just don't have it in a format. And if you don't have that, I'm not focusing on how to go do that, but I would go talk to your senior executives at your company, those that are working on the projects, see if you can talk to the customer and really understand, the ins and outs of the project, of the solution that you provided. And I'm going to provide, tip number 1 here is going to give you the structure for that anyhow. So tip number 1 is leverage the power of 3. And I talked about this in a previous podcast. The human brain, when you first present information to it, can retain up to 3 concepts. The minute you introduce a 4th, it's highly likely to forget all 4. So you want to make it easy to digest this information. So you're going to leverage the power of 3. And what I mean by that is you're going to have 3 sections, or 3 components, I should call it, of your case study. It's going to be the challenge, the solution, the results. So challenge, solution, results. Those are your 3 sections within your case study. The other thing you're going to do is you're going to make it a 1-pager. So this is going to make it simple for you, simple for your customer. I've seen really good case studies that are multiple pages. However, you want a simple 1-page document that you're going to provide to your prospects to really make it easy for them to digest it and make it likely that they're actually going to read it. If they get something that's a little bit longer, especially the earlier in the sales cycle, the earlier in the relationship, they're probably not going to be apt to read it. But if it's a simple 1-pager and they're interested, they're probably going to take a look at it. So make it easy for them. So leverage the power of 3, break it into 3 sections: challenge, solution, results. And then with the challenge specifically, that's, sometimes it's a problem. Sometimes people call it, the situation. But really, when you get to them, when you get to your prospects, and you're going to begin with the end in mind by working with your customers, where have we been successful with this type of company and helping them with these similar challenges? They had a challenge. They were experiencing this as a challenge. Here's the solution that we put in place for them. They called upon us to do it. So here's the solution that we put in place to address that challenge. And then here are the results. Okay. So there's lots of examples. If you go search Google, search the internet for case study examples, you'll go see most of them will follow this format. I'm just making it easy for you to really understand how to segment your case studies into those 3 segments, because that'll be easy, and that's telling a story. The other thing that if you can do it, get a testimonial quote from your client. So the one that you're doing the case study on, it's preferable that you get their permission. If they don't want their name out there, then you might have to go a little bit more generic, like a company in the oil and gas industry, or a company in the financial services industry, that type of deal. Hopefully you can use their name, and then you can furthermore get their permission and ask for a quote, which would be a nice testimonial, and you can put the quote in there from the senior executive on how great a job you guys did, and that just further backs up what you're claiming in the case study in terms of the challenge, solution, and results. And they can even help provide and shed some light on some information that maybe you weren't even thinking of. They might say, here's above and beyond what you guys did for the solution and the results, here's some other added value that I got out of this. So the more you're connecting with your client, the better. And then it's a good way to connect further with them and ensure that you guys are doing a good job. And then the other thing is, and this is kind of the higher level, more of an advanced level, if they'll do it, see if you can get a video testimonial. If you can get a video testimonial, just a quick 2 to 3 minute video testimonial, you could actually send them a Zoom meeting. I'm big on using Zoom. It's free. You go to zoom.us/download. Download that, invite them to a Zoom meeting. You can record it and just interview them real quick. You might even interview them. You might just have them on the screen and have them say a minute or two about the solution, what they got out of it. And now you've got some valuable video content, and you can put that in as a link. So you just take a still shot of the picture of them in the video, and then you put a link to, and you'll put that in the case study with a link to the video. So when you send it as an attached document as a PDF, they can click on that link, pop open the video as well. So now you have a little bit more content. You have the one pager with the challenge, solution, and results. You have a testimonial quote in there, and then you have a snapshot of a video, and then video image, and then they can click that, and then it'll kick open a browser window and show them the video testimonial as well. So that's the first part, is leverage the power of three in creating that case study and organize it like that. How do I create this? That's going to be the second tip. Second tip is it's going to be a one-pager, and just use PowerPoint. Keep it real simple. You don't have to be a designer, developer. You don't have to be a marketing guru to do this. I do realize I'm talking to B2B tech sales professionals, and creating content is maybe not number one on your priority list. So I want to keep it real simple. Just use PowerPoint. Open up PowerPoint, and in PowerPoint, open up a brand new slide, just a blank slide. All you need is one slide there. You're going to later convert it to a PDF, and that'll be your case study. However, there's those tabs up there: home, insert, design, transitions, and so on and so forth. So you're going to click on insert, and in insert, you'll see this thing called Smart Art. So just drop that down, and then you see some different sections there. There's list, process, cycle, hierarchy, relationship, matrix, pyramid, and picture. And really, the first three, between list, process, and cycle, it kicks out a whole bunch of different design elements, and just pick one of them that has three components to it. Right. So when you look at lists, there's a bunch of different ones that just have it lined up 1, 2, 3, and then that way you could just use that as your framework, and you put in challenge, solution, and results, and then you can type in the content within those containers there. So that makes it really, really easy. They've already done the design work. Yes, it's basic, but you can change the colors to match up with your logo and insert your logo on the slide, and you can kind of clean it up a little bit. But it's not too hard to use. So it's a one slide in PowerPoint. Insert Smart Art either in the list, process, or cycle, one of the first three options. Pick one that has a graphic that has three elements to it. Insert that in there, and then you insert the challenge, solution, results, and then just kind of type in the information you have there. It shouldn't be real long. It could be very simple for that. So just keep that in mind as well. And then tip number 3: leverage this case study once it's created as a tangible value asset. What I mean by that is it could be a talk track for you. So when you're calling in, or you're at a networking event, or you're out there networking or talking to prospects, and they say, well, give me an example of someone that you've helped, or what types of clients have you helped, then you've got this at the ready. So once you create this content, you're going to memorize it, and you're going to say, hey, we work with a company, this XYZ Corp. The challenge when we first got to them they were experiencing was this. The solution we put in place was this. And then at the end of the project there, the results they've experienced is this. The more tangible the results, the better. So saying that they were able to grow their business by X percent, they decreased costs by 20%. Something specific and tangible, the better. But if you don't have that yet and it's early on, don't wait months and months or a year for those results. Just put in there, they're now improved their process. They're able to ramp up people faster and shorten cycles. You don't have to have specific percentages, but it's much better if you do, if there's specific tangible results there. So just keep that in mind. So those could be talk tracks for you. That's the first thing that you can leverage the case study as. The second one is use it as a lead-in on LinkedIn when you're reaching out to target market prospects. So both in connection request and in emails. So if you're going to reach out for a connection request, first of all, never, ever, ever just use the standard, I'd like to connect with you on LinkedIn. They provide you that one little short sentence in there. And if you send a blind connection request, the likelihood of someone accepting that without any context of why you want to connect is very, very low. So make sure you put a personal message in there, right? And you can say something like, John, based on reviewing your profile, you're in a similar role, you're in the same role of our best clients that we're working with. We recognize that executives in your position and your industry are experiencing this challenge. We've been able to help your peers overcome that. I've attached a case study for you to review, see if that's something that's beneficial for you. I hope it helps. In the meantime, let's get connected here on LinkedIn. You're not asking to sell them. You're not trying to push something. You're just adding value by using this as a tangible value asset. And that's where you can set the narrative, right? So if they're not ready yet, in one of the previous episodes, we talked about the unfair advantage of being first. Well, if they weren't thinking about it yet, now they see a case study of one of their peers that were experiencing a challenge, and now they start thinking about, that's a challenge for me too. Wasn't thinking about that as much, but look at the results they've experienced. Maybe I want to reach back out to this guy or gal and talk to them a little bit further about it, right? And you'll put that in there. If you'd like to discuss this, feel free to give me a call. In the meantime, let's get connected here on LinkedIn so we can keep in touch, right? And so that's one tangible value asset you can leverage just with a connection request. Go right at it. Once you have them in your network, you're connected, they're automatically following you on LinkedIn. They become a follower, and when you start putting out more content, you're going to show up on their stream, on their activity stream on LinkedIn there. So just keep that in mind, that you're going to be top of mind. So the connection request is most valuable, especially with those that you're trying to connect with initially. If you do want to go straight at it with an in-mail, you could do that as well, and that allows you to attach a document as well. So you could do the same thing through an in-mail, but why not go for the connection request, right? I mean, sometimes you could try 20 of them for connection requests and 20 of them are in-mails, and then see what works better, and then start adjusting accordingly. Okay, so that's what I have for today. We're talking about creating content, and the first piece of content we're focused on is the case study. I gave 3 tips. The first one was leverage the power of 3 when creating a case study. That really emphasizes the challenge, the solution, the results. The second tip was create a one-pager using PowerPoint. Use the Smart Art feature to insert a graphic that already is set up in the power of 3 with 3 graphical elements there that you can add the challenge, solution, and results to. And tip number 3 is leverage the case study, moving forward as a tangible value asset. Once you've created it, you could use it for talk tracks when you're prospecting and networking. You can use it as a lead-in on LinkedIn, within the connection requests and within emails. You could even use it as a follow-up supporting document after initial meetings as a value-added touch point. As we've talked about in the past, anywhere between, depending on what you see on the low end, 5 on the very low end, but usually up to 12 touch points before a brand new prospect becomes a customer. So you want to add value at every touch point. That this can be a valuable touch point, tangible value asset you can use within that valuable touch point. So that's what we have for today. Hopefully you've got some value out of this, and you'll start thinking about creating your own case study or more. So you have that, per industry that you're targeting and reaching out to those executives. This will be a much better way than just kind of cold calling in or reaching out through social without adding any value and just wanting to connect without a purpose. You definitely want to prospect on purpose and with a purpose. And that's what we're focusing on here. So that'll do it for today. Thanks for joining me. And now let's end this episode with a few quick reminders. All right. Reminder number 1, if you haven't signed up for our free 7-day video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you should do so right away. Go ahead and visit mastercomplexselling.com. Again, it's mastercomplexselling.com. Reminder number 2, if you want to ask a question and have me feature that on the podcast to answer your question, then just send an email to asksean@salesintegrity.com. Again, it's Ask Sean, and I spell it SEAN. So Ask Sean at salesintegrity.com. Number 3, if you haven't already done so, please rate the show. If you've been listening a few times and you get a sense of what the show is about and you feel comfortable, I greatly appreciate a 5-star rating and a quick 1 to 2 sentence review. You could do so on iTunes. Just search for the show and then click the ratings and reviews and go ahead and just add it there. And then final reminder, if you haven't already joined one of our 2 B2B Tech Sales Professionals group, you could do so on either Facebook or LinkedIn. Just go ahead and search for B2B Tech Sales Professionals, and it'll pop up, and you can just join right there. So once again, thank you for listening to today's episode. Go out there today and help your customers buy what they want, what they need, and what benefits them. And most importantly, go out there and make it a great day.